So you want to be a toy. Pretty much most adult collectors would love to be a toy of themselves, specifically probably an action figure. And these days there's a couple ways to do that. A few years back, there was even at Target stores a kiosk where they would 3D print a head of you or your child and put it onto a 12-inch figure body, and you or your child could have a figure of themselves. Although it was a little expensive, and the fact that they're still not running the program shows it probably wasn't hugely successful. There's also a couple of websites out there where, again, for a couple $100s or more, you can have a service that will make you your head on an action figure body. There's quite a few websites out there. But probably the most direct way is to become a movie star and star in a giant action-based or retro movie. So let's just talk about that first. And let's talk about it in terms of likeness rights. So I get this question quite a lot. What are likeness rights and how do they work with action figures? So essentially, if you're making a figure that looks like a character from a movie and is recognizable, so not this toy. This toy does not have likeness rights. This is also another toy that does not have likeness rights. This is a Lego. Legos do not necessarily look like the actor. It's just painted on details. Same with any kind of pop or iteration of a pop. Likeness rights only apply when a toy is, call it, photoreal to an actor. So for toys like Pops, like Legos, like super morphed or deformed figures or play school figures, you do not need what's called likeness rights. Even cartoony versions of characters don't need likeness rights. But this toy, which does look like Bill Murray, does need likeness rights. And what that means is it's essentially a contract with the studio for the movie and a contract with that actor and or their agent to make a toy in that actor's likeness. And usually that contract is going to stipulate approval rights, meaning Bill Murray has the right to approve the sculpt, but it's for one specific movie. So just because you have Bill Murray's rights for a Ghostbuster toy does not mean you can make action figures of Bill Murray for every movie he's ever been in. It doesn't work that way. You have to get likeness rights and movie rights for every single film you're interested in. So the Mattel Ghostbusters line had to get likeness rights for the Ghostbusters line from Sony, and then Bill Murray had to approve his likeness rights for the Venkman action figure. But again, it didn't mean we could then start making, Groundhog's Day action figures just because we had a Bill Murray sculpt. He approves it just for that one property. So it's a likeness of him in Ghostbusters, not a likeness of him, say, further along in life when he maybe has a few more wrinkles, a few more gray hairs, much like myself, and it doesn't give you, usage for him for every single possible sculpt. There's different ways these sculpts can be done by hand, they can be done by computer, but it all comes down to the contract and what stipulates how that actor gets to approve. As an example, Mark Hamill, in his contract for Star Wars, going back to 1977, he had a clause that said he would receive a sample, actually 5 samples, of every single Luke Skywalker action figure into perpetuity. So every time Hasbro or any other Star Wars licensor makes a Luke Skywalker toy, 5 samples have to be sent to Mark Hamill, along with, his likeness rights approval. And other times, a lot of actors and actresses have the right to disapprove. So, example, Christina Ricci from Speed Racer, she did not approve the original head on her Trixie figure from the Mattel Speed Racer line, and the head had to be sculpted a second time. So let's switch gears. Another way of getting yourself made as an action figure perhaps could be by entering the toy industry and becoming a brand manager or a sculptor on an action figure line. So yes, I have had the privilege of having this done, not of this commandy figure. That's what my actual face looks like, and then you can compare my photorealistic face to the action figure of the Royal Guard. There he is with Egon's glasses to make it look a little bit more like me. My mother doesn't think it looks like me, but I think the Horseman did a great job. And it's not actually that uncommon for toy makers to be toys. For example, the Four Horsemen, when I originally approached them about the Royal Guard, I asked if they wanted to be the Royal Guard. And Cornboy pretty much said, well, actually, I've already been a toy, and I'm not interested in being another toy. Cornboy of the Four Horsemen was himself as this Spawn action figure who was actually called Cornboy. So you can recognize the face there belongs to the sculptor. And, again, this is not that uncommon in the toy industry, especially when there's passionate toy makers. They kind of find ways to get themselves into the toy lines. Another one of the Four Horsemen, Eric, he was the head inspiration for the McFarlane Toys Frankenstein set. So he was actually not the monster, obviously, but he was the doctor. He was Dr. Frankenstein, who that's actually where Frankenstein comes from. The monster is not called Frankenstein, despite the Universal movie that throws everybody off. But you can see that the good doctor, the inventor here, was based on the likeness of Eric from the Four Horsemen. So again, I had actually approached all of the Horsemen about being royal guards, and they were like, nope, we've already been toys. And of course, it's not limited to the Four Horsemen and the Masters of the Universe line. If you look at Toy Biz, they had for the Two Towers line, there is an Elven Archer. It's kind of like supposed to be a random Elven Archer. It's not like Elrond or some specific character. But if you take off the mask and look at the face of this specific Elven Archer, you will see that it is the face of Jesse Falcon, who was the brand manager of the Lord of the Rings line, and notoriously also, famously, the Marvel Legends line back in Toy Biz day. Mystique from that Marvel Legends line was actually also Jesse's girlfriend at the time. The face sculpt, that is. I don't think his girlfriend had a blue body and, went around morphing into other people, but the face of Mystique was based off of the lucky lady who was dating Jesse at the time, though he's happily married now, so we probably won't dwell on this one too much. Let's perhaps move on to another example. Also in Marvel Legends, so in the original Toy Biz line, War Machine, who came with a removable mask, as well as a whole bunch of cool clip-on, explodey little things. This is one of my favorite Toy Biz Marvel Legends. And if you take off the mask, you will see that Rhodey underneath is actually the face of David Vonner, who is the sculptor. He is also a very famous kind of sculptor, toy maker / toy fan. It tends to be the people who are toy fans that kind of push themselves to be action figure heads because, we're toy fans. And usually when we're toys like this, we don't actually, there's no likeness rights. We're just lucky to have it done. So another example is this Mandalorian Commando that Hasbro put out. Not only is he named after, but if you take off the helmet, you will see that the face sculpt is in the quasi-likeness of Daryl DePriest, who was, again, the brand manager over the Star Wars line at the time. Also a huge toy fan. Another one of my favorite examples from Monster High back to Mattel is Headmistress Bloodgood from she was like she was the principal, or I guess the headmistress. There you go. That's why she's called that, of Monster High, and she was sort of a headless horseman type sculpt. Well, Headmistress Bloodgood, who not only was a toy but was also featured in the animation. So, hey, if you work on a toy line, you can not only get yourself into the toy line, but maybe into the entertainment as well. So, Headmistress Bloodgood, the likeness and the name was actually Erin Bloodgood, who was the brand manager. Yes, crazy enough, someone named Bloodgood was actually brand managing Monster High. That's actually her last name. Crazy, right? Other examples of toy makers getting their names into toys is this Handy Hog from the Hot Wheels line. This was when they were doing some custom motorcycles. So this custom motorcycle was actually John Handy's motorcycle. So the motorcycle, like this was actually his custom motorcycle that they put into the Hot Wheels line. He was the VP over Hot Wheels at the time. And if you look closely at a lot of Hot Wheels race cars, you'll see the names of the designers and the painters, especially in the race cars. All those little details tend to be their names. Kind of a last example, if you're not a movie star or a toy maker, you could just be a really enthusiastic YouTuber. So the woman who is known around the world as Chewbacca Mom, who did a video few years ago where she was laughing at the Chewbacca mask. Well, that got so much publicity that Hasbro invited her to Pawtucket and they made a custom Chewbacca action figure for her, of her. So basically, in conclusion, likeness rights don't apply if you're a toy maker, but if you're a movie star, you're going to get approval rights, and that's what they are. And the best way to get yourself made as an action figure is probably to be a movie star, or to go work for a toy company and be overly enthusiastic and find a way to subtly get yourself as a, an elf or a guard or, heck, War Machine, I guess. So anything is possible. But remember to check your contract because, you don't want a toy that just doesn't look like yourself. You're more likely to get a contract if you're a movie star. Most of us toy makers that have been toys are just lucky. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. I try to reply to as many comments as I can. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and I'll try to get that video. Thanks for watching.